Professor Millie Mail, the Hood Postman. You know the vibe. Shucks, man. It's Saturday. I'm chilling and just been thinking about all sorts of kind of things. And one of the things I've been thinking about is the a lot of the information that's out there that a lot of people that is putting out about the Compton Crips are basically a lot of it is like self identification. And I don't do self identification type of history or bringing you the knowledge of the origins of the Compton. And what I do is do a valuable search, and I talk to high value type people. You know, I talk to Ant, Big Ant Malone. I talk to Suman, Ricky. I talk to Marcellus Robinson. And those guys are, when you're talking about the Compton origins and how this came together, the phenomenon known as the Grandies and Compton Crips, CC. If you can't get it firsthand from these type of individuals, then it's distorted, it's misleading, it's often self-grandizing by individuals that try to articulate the story in the way they want it to lean towards them so they can give that self-glory, that self-gratification. That's not necessary for Professor Millie Mill because I am an individual. I know who I am. As a matter of fact, I really don't care what people think or say about me because it's really none of my business. It's what ultimately is what I think of myself that ultimately count. So that's why when I'm able to talk like to Ant or I'm able to talk to Marcellus, I'm able to talk to Ricky, I believe that I can't be on a more solid ground than speaking with them about the origins. And a lot of time, uh, it's very moving. It's very enlightening, and then I understand the facts why they don't necessarily need to come on the camera. That's not what they do. All these guys that I'm naming are definitely in the community. They're building the community. They're being out front and forward. You know, Ant has the mini bikes and go karts. He over there got a gang of kids over there off of, just doing his thing. And all these guys are communicating. I'm talking about these guys, whether they was Blue Note, CCOs, or however you want to look at that. They're all communicating. I'm talking about the real ones. There's some that stand outside of that circle. It's because they really was never in the circle, and they kind of put themselves in a circumstance that was not accommodating for them or the people involved. You know what I mean? I speak to Bam. Bam speaks very highly of Ant. Speaks very high. Often, every time he elaborate on something, he's speaking about Suman. He's speaking about Ant. He's speaking about Marcellus, or he's speaking about Heron. Rest in peace to Heron and my condolences to his family. So these individuals, man, are pillars, so to speak, if I had to put it in context. So let's get to it. We're going to talk about Mac Thomas today a little bit. Mac Thomas grew up on the east side. Him, Raymond, Ant, Marcellus, Winfred, Melvin Thomas, Lee Thomas. A lot of these guys actually worked at the WCLC on the east side. Some of them lived in Palm Lane during the times in the 60s, some on the east side. So what happens a lot of times, guys, parents are looking to be better, or they felt like it was better for them to remove from those areas and move into the Compton area. Because the Compton area was really booming at the time in the 60s and early 70s. It was a lot of growth, there was a lot of jobs there. So, who don't want the best for their family? So, when we're taking a look at Mac Thomas today, because Mac Thomas he unified. He had the, man, just, he unified us because they were already Compton Crips. But since he already had the tactics, he was brave. He knew Head Honcho. He knew Catnip. You know what I mean? He knew Ant. He knew Marcellus. Of course, he knew his brothers and all these guys that wind up in this area called the Hub, Compton, right? They were able to put something together that probably would never ever happen again, because you got to understand that at that time, Compton was very unified, very unified. It didn't matter where you were at in the city of Compton, you still were under that CC, which was Compton Crip. First name Compton, last name Crip. Okay? So they did, Mac just had just a knack. It was in his DNA for the gangster stuff and how to carry it. He had the look. He was bodacious. He was just ferocious. You know what I mean? And he stood his ground for what he believed in. Mac just stood his grounds for what he believed in, and he was very bodacious in his actions, and it stood out. You know what I mean? He had that leadership quality. He had things that were just in his personality that was fitting for the moment. You know what I mean? Because when you got people like Red Dog, King Mean, Salty Frosty, Bitter Dog Bruno, and you got Karate Man, you got Catnip, you got Head Huncho, Baby Huncho, Mr. X, you got Grasshopper, you got just a host of dudes. You know, that's not even counting the dudes that was on the 165, Keedy, Welch, Tootie, and Fatso Amy, Timmy Amy, and Big Ali, Lil Ali. You know what I mean? That's not even, you know what I mean? When you able to gather all these big booby, you know what I mean? You able to gather all these individuals in this one big old circle. Because if you look at the Grandies was a cul-de-sac. And that's what they could be. But originally, Mac was when his father, what happened? They lost a brother when all these guys were like in the 103rd area. Mac lost a brother to some unforeseen circumstances. Mr. Thomas moved the family to Raymond Avenue over there, what is known as Richland Farms, which is now known as Farm Dog. He stayed on Raymond. And right up the street was a park. So originally they would be on Mr. Thomas' yard, and he'd come home, you know, as any parent, like, wait a minute, man, what is all these guys doing on my front yard or my front yard grass? You know, this has got to stop. So they took it down to the park, and this was the recruiting part of it just ramped up because all dudes from all over Compton was coming up there, hitting the line, walking the line, going down the line, testing their mettle, seeing that they worthy for being part of what is known as the Grandy. The Grandy was a stronghold for all of Compton Crips, and they all wanted to be there, to be a part of that circumstance. Raymond was there, Tookie was there, all the guys that was like in the high echelons of Crippin', you know what I mean, respected what was going on in the Grandies, and they had to go see it for themselves to witness that this thing was actually taking root and growing in a way, because when you think about it, whether it's Ernest Stocker, whether it's Big Booby, whether it's Suman, or some of the other guys that, you know, left, when they left the Grandies, when they started other neighborhoods that they don't get credited for. Because these guys, they're out here, they don't know the history. So it's easy for them to just, you know, kind of put their own wording to it or put their own twist on it, so it reflects them in a way that makes them look like they're the ones that built this train. You know what I mean? They hooked it all up. They put the engine, a couple of engines, some parked cars, and the booths and something, and linked it all up. You know, but in actuality, they didn't have it because, you know, when you think about it, Mac had the mentality. He had the mentality for this, and everybody, you know what I mean, understood that. You know what I mean? If you think about all the personalities I just named, all of these dudes was hand gods. All these dudes believe in getting stuff done. You know what I mean? There was nobody coming up in the Grandies because, like I said, the Grandies was a dead end. To go up in there, you was definitely committing suicide. There was no way you was finna go down there. So it was like the Crips being accepted in one big old family out of Compton, all of them. You know what I mean? They was in the circumstances that prevailed in a way that had to happen during that time. Now, I'm not making an excuse for none of this stuff. What I'm saying is that due to how the government was treating the mistreatment of young black men, eradication of the CEDAR program, because all these guys worked through the WCLC, it was all through the CEDAR program, okay? So when you take all this energy and all these individuals they're looking for things to do. Now they wind up basically in the same, they left the east side. Now they wind up in the same general area in Compton, whether it's Winfred Robinson. Always heard about Winfred. Winfred had a big relationship with the Carver Parks. And the Carver Parks had a relationship with him, and Marcellus and Salty. They would be over there at the Sheriff Capri and all this stuff. They would go to even L.A. over there to the Magnificent Seven, where Rusty and Mouse and Cukes and all these guys are at. Aunt and them had relationships with all the Hoovers and all this stuff, and all these guys would come to the Grandies. They would go to their neighborhoods. This is like a growing thing, you know what I mean? But you get these people who don't know this history, and then they want to, talk around it or talk under it and make it seem like, the stuff that they're saying is actually 100, and then a lot of these guys didn't even become Crips until they were either in an incarceration situation, or they found out that, later on, and that don't take from them. Difference don't mean deficient. It just means that it's different. Accept your role. I accept my role, baby Crip, and I grew from there. You know what I mean? Not that there was anything fantastic about me or anything grand, or did I, was I knocking out all this? No. Was I doing all that? No, none of that. But I knew how to play my position because I was always smart. And when I told you that, what part of it made me was the fact that I would look at individuals and see who was potential a danger or dangerous, and I would record their information, find out what their names were, where they live, and all that kind of stuff. So if I ever had any problem, I can deal with it accordingly. So back to the guys like Ant, the guys like Suman, the guys like Salty, Frosty, Neen, King Rat, King Snake, Better Dog Bruno, Big Booby, Catnip, Honcho, Mac Thomas, Melvin Thomas, Lee Thomas, that it was just their time to do what they did and put it down in the way they put it down, And now we don't get individuals that, like, if you really had to do a comparison about Mac and Little James from the east side was really, really close in stature and how they carried it. They both was like short guys, like, so to speak, very strong and powerful, had them hands, you know what I mean? So, you can look at Little James in that regard too, but anyway, Mac was from Raymond Street, down the street from Raymond Park. And then you can't take the fact that Black Connie played her role in it. Not this other Connie, this light-skinned lady that wasn't a part of this, that happened to interject herself in a history that she don't even fit in. You understand? But those who know, when they hear it, they be like, and I get these calls, from people that knows it, you know what I mean? And if they don't want to be on camera, that's fine. I'm here to do it for them, you know what I mean? That's what I do, you know what I mean? It's bring forward the information based on facts, data, statistics, and truth. Not what I feel. It's about what I know and what I think. Because if I bring it based on feelings are emotions, and when something becomes emotional, it becomes a reactionary. So I don't want to be reactionary in this. I want to try to give you solid information and just concrete, words to where you can hold on to them and go back and research what I did, because some of this stuff is actually online, already on Google search. Some of it. Some of it is a little inaccurate. Some of it is misspelled, or they had the wrong individuals telling it. But when you think about the Grandies again, it was a family. And when I say family, a family that was in Compton, that embraced all of Compton. It didn't matter if you lived on Atlantic, it didn't matter if you lived on Rosecrans, it didn't matter if you lived in Motor Park area, Carver Park. the Grandies was welcome to all the Compton Crips. And Mac Thomas was one of the ones that spearheaded it. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Mac Thomas, salute to him, rest in peace, although he died in 1978 to some unforeseen circumstances. And I know the story, but I'm not gonna, give it to you just yet. There's still some more people I have to talk to understand it. And I may not never reveal that because to me it's not necessary. That's not necessary. So again, Professor Melly Mail, the Hood Postman. Shout out to Big Ant. Shout out to Suma. Shout out to Big Booby. Shout out to Marcellus. Shout out to Michael Redman, Red Dog. Rest in peace, Lean, Salty, Frosty. Shout out to Head Honcho. Definitely, because Head Honcho understand this stuff. Mr. X. Rest in peace. My brother-in-law, Karate Man. That's my brother-in-law. That's my wife, brother. Aunt even told me that, my brother Karate Man taught them martial arts, because that was the thing. And growing up in the 60s and early 70s was martial arts, knowing how to defend oneself, So, I got my training from the Black Panther Party through a guy named Robert Banks. So, never had to, just overtly use it on anybody that didn't deserve it. That was never who I was, But when I understand the CCO and the Blue Note thing, I understand that stuff was very, very necessary for where it grew and where it came out of was in the institutions, and the individuals who were involved in it, they became educated and they became motivated. So, and it was all about survival. So peace to all you, man. Professor Melly Mail, remember, Compton is a family. Whether you're in the South, Atlantic, Nutty, Santana, Mona Park, Acacia, Farm Dog, 126, in Hood, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It is a family, and you guys are missing a very important part. This is about a unification, and you guys should be able to unite based on that umbrella right there. Because a lot of the stuff that you guys are dealing with, it's just miscommunication. You undervalue and marginalize and underestimate one another. You guys are still men. Everybody's capable of doing anything and everything. But know this, the streets are undefeated. The streets is very undefeated. So again, Professor Melly Mail, the Hood Postman, you know that vibe. Be sure to click the notification bell, like, subscribe, drop a comment, and be sure to tap in with me, whether you like it or not. It's just a story, and it's the truth. It's the true history of Compton, and in which I will reveal more as I talk to the people that was there from day one. I'm out.
That been there and done that. Came up in the hood, reputation still good. And down the bust a cap. TGs, BGs, soaking gang. You see how the big homie shit done? 10 toes down, motherfucker. How you think the West was
won? This shit in me, not on me. You know I'm the big homie. This shit in me, not on me. I got love for my homies. Nah, nah, nah. This shit in me, not on me. This shit in me, not on me.
Look, 40 plus, I push the line for real. I done been there and done that and seen homies get killed. The streets ain't never loved us back, but according to corporate world, we don't know how to act. I reached out to the youth so they don't fall off track. But it's only a selected few that wanna have my back. Back in the day we called phase and ran them back to back. Too many coppers nowadays, all they know is a strap. And even though I push through traffic with one on lap, I'm still on my Panther shit cause I'm pro-black. I'm just a big homie trying to make us scratch. Cop the key to the city, put the wood on my back, and show the kids in the city we get platinum plaques. And stop the killing in the streets when it's brown and black. And what's a big homie if he don't get back? And what's a big homie if he don't show love
This
back?
shit in me, not on me. You know I'm the big homie. This shit in me, not on me. I got love for my homies. Nah, 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 nah. This shit in me, not on me.
This shit in me, not on me.
Nah, 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 nah.
Money, loyalty, respect, and hood fame. The big homie is in me, not on me. Oh yeah, Big T be the name.
Sunday afternoon, yeah, we feeling the breeze. Lace my chucks up like a real OG. Hit the marketplace for a fresh white tee. Get scooped up by the homie Yogi. Dipping down the boulevard, we in them streets. Met a few freaks, now we in them sheets. Bumping and grinding R. Kelly in the suites. It's in me, not on me, it's the pimp in me. I was taught to make dubs by the old heads. OGs with golf clubs on their foreheads. Pocket knives and brass knuckles, we was on edge. And everybody busting guns.
This shit in me, not on me. You know I'm the big homie. This shit in me, not on me. I got love for my homies. Nah, nah.
We all got the big homies, you know. Yeah, you know the deal. Niggas like fucking with they big homies, cause they big homies like to keep it real. Shout out to all the big homies that came before us, that led the way, that laid the foundation for all you youngsters that wanna be big homies.